but okay. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, if there's one thing we take away from these next 4 weeks, is I want you to know that you are valuable and you are worthy. You are worthy of a good life. You are worthy of a fruitful life, and God created you in His image to that you are worthy. So you're already perfect exactly the way you are. Okay, so week 1, I wanted to start off with cleaning up our menus. I feel like so many women, and I'm speaking to women because obviously this is the Proverbs 31 woman, we are not comfortable with profit, and we don't know our numbers correctly. An example is this. I do the Beyond Spicuous treatment, and I was only charging $250 for this specific treatment, when in reality I should have been charging $400. I was way undercharging myself for the results, for the treatments, and for my time. And if I'm not making profit, I'm no good to anybody. I'm not good to my community. The Proverbs 31 woman gave back to the poor and the needy. And if I don't have money to give back, then I'm not being, of service to them. And so it starts with the legacy that I want to build. Do I have peace? Am I running off of lack? Or am I running in fruitfulness? So week 1 is cleaning up our menus. And then during this teaching, you're going to hear often Proverbs 31:10, that she is far worth more than rubies. There's nothing tangible in this world. You are so worthy. So before we begin, welcome to Proverbs 31 series. Before we go any further, let's define what this is really about. What is the Proverbs 31 movement, and how does this relate to your business? The Proverbs 31 woman isn't just a homemaker. She's an entrepreneur, a provider, a planner, and a pillar in her community. She's wise with her time, strategic in her business, and confident in her worth. She honors God and builds wealth with intention. She sees that her dealings are profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. Mute your you, Shanti, you guys are able to mute them too.
I'm trying to figure out how to mute.
I got it. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Perfectly? Yeah, okay. Share. Okay. Okay. She sees that her dealings are profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. That was such a strong verse when I was studying and really putting this together, because she is profitable. That verse says it all. She doesn't hustle without purpose. She's not just busy trying to be busy. She's not exhausted or underpaid. I want you guys to know that we are here to make profit. This is not a hobby. This is our businesses and our legacies. And this is how we provide for ourselves, our families, and our communities. She is running a profitable business because profit fuels purpose. And this is what this entire series is about. It's bringing your faith and your financial strategy into alignment. Because somewhere along the way,
I'm making you breakfast.
One second. Okay. Because somewhere along the way, we were told that we purpose or profit, serving God or scaling our business, nurturing others, or charging our worth. But the Proverbs 31 woman embodies all of it, gracefully, wisely, and unapologetically. So let's be clear, this isn't just a business challenge, it's a spiritual and financial reset. Because I want you guys to know this, you were never meant to be overworked, underplayed, and overwhelmed. You were created to be discerning, strategic, and successful. He who finds a virtuous woman, for her worth is far more above rubies. Again, if there's a takeaway, I want you guys to know that you are above everything else. You are worthy, and what you do is valuable. You're not basic, you're not random, and you're definitely not here to stay broke while blessing everyone else. You are more precious than rubies, and it's time that your business reflects that. So, Day one, we're going to focus on cleaning up our menus. Now we're going to get practical. Your service menu is more than a list of treatments, it's a mirror. It's a reflection of your beliefs, your boundaries, your business mindset. Every single service you offer is what you value and what you're willing to accept. And when I put that together, what I basically meant was, here's the example. I'm doing this treatment, I'm only charging what I think it was $250, when in reality everybody around me is charging $400. What I'm saying to myself and my members is that's what I'm willing to accept. I don't value the services, the teachings, everything that I've put in my career. I'm not valuing everything I've put together. So I raised my prices because I need to be able to make a profit, because this business is here for the long run. So how are we going to redefine our menus like a Prov 31 woman? We're going to start with our values. What season are we in? What do we want to do? Do we want to do restoration, simplicity? Do you want to do waxing? Do you want to do lashes? What are your values? For me, it's corrective skincare. So I really want to focus on nurturing the skin, so an impaired barrier, acne, hyperpigmentation. So my services and my offerings are going to reflect that. I'm not just, here's waxing, here's lashes. I talk about bleaching.
Seriously, it's $5. Not much.
You want to unmute that? I talk about niching all the time. When I first started, I was doing lash extensions, which I am absolutely terrible at. But I felt like I had to do everything to get clients in the door. But I wasn't attracting the right audience because I was charging way under. I was probably charging like $50 for lashes and not profiting anything. And then everything has a shelf life. So I'm over here getting all this lash stuff, when in reality, once I cut that out, I was able to invest into an acne course that made me more confident in my skills, made my verbiage stronger, and then I was able to attract the right clientele that I really wanted to service. Second, so does that make sense, starting with your values? Second, you want to review your numbers. Once you sit down and actually do the numbers, for me personally, I was like, I am way overcharging. Was I making money? Sure. But is it what I wanted to be making to sustain this business? Because when we're profiting, we're able to give back to our client experience. We're able to go off of not lack and fumes, and we're able to reinvest our business because we're here for the long run. Second, eliminate what no longer aligns. So for me, I love waxing, I'm not gonna lie, but it was very expensive to have to re-up all that, and some of it only had shelf life that I wasn't. And when I really sat and thought, what do I want to niche myself in? It was corrective skincare. And so I had to take off, all of that and then bring in my other clients, but it served me better because I felt like I was just drained after doing waxing all day. And then simplifying our categories. Now we have a friendly tool called ChatGPT, so you can play with that a little bit. But I simplified mine, for example, where I have a 60, 90, and a 120. And that's it. And whatever is done within that time. And then I have my packages for the Self Story and Bio Repeal, depending on what we want to work with, or nano channeling. But none of that they're not able to get into any of that until after our skin consultation. We go over their goals and actually what's reasonable. So all my new clients can only book new client. So everything after that, I choose for them. We choose together. Okay. You want to name your services with intention. Now, some could be really fun, like you could have maybe in the summer or the winter, glow up or whatever, but you want to make sure your numbers are right. So second is check your timing. I actually realized when I first started, I only was giving myself 10 to 15 minutes to turn the bed over and my next client to come in, which really wasn't being a service to anybody, because then I wasn't able to actually go over. So my new client consultation, it's actually a 1 hour, but I booked out 90 minutes to really go over our skin analysis, to make sure their paperwork, to give them time where to park, to go over their skincare regimen. And that really gives us a time. And then I blocked an extra 15 minutes so that I can clean correctly, I can drink water. And then when I leave, because the Prop 31 is the planner, I leave my entire treatment room ready for the next day so that I'm not running in where I'm like, oh, before I'd be running in trying to put everything away, and it just made me look very unprofessional. And then you want to give yourself permission to raise your prices. So one of the things that I think is really helpful is I understand some people would like to give a discount, but you want to make sure that you're framing your how much you're actually valuing. So for example, I was doing a model call to get great before and after pictures. My clients knew that the Beyond Spicules was $400, but if I was going to give them either a half off or some kind of treatment, but they knew what the actual value cost was. So I understand maybe shifting might be a little bit scary. Allison is a little bit better at this than I am, but you want to make sure that you're actually putting what the value is, and then if you decide to do any kind of discounts or promos after that, but at least that they know what they're getting. Now, I'm going to hand this over to Allison. How to price yourself for an esthetician who wants to stop guessing.
All right. Hey, guys.
Really quick.
Oh, sorry.
You guys want to answer questions at the end because we have a hand raised. I didn't know if you guys want to do them at the end or what.
We just have one hand. Oh, Sabrina, did you have a question, Sabrina? Do you want to unmute yourself real quick and ask a question? Oh, did you go away? Come back. Did you have a question? Answer.
So I put the link again for the replay of the newsletter.
Okay, cool. Do you want me to go ahead and share my screen, or can you go back to the Zoom or to the thing? All right. Hey guys, I'm Allison. I am your newest coach in the Money Making Esthetician group. So I'm super excited for you. I'm going to be going over the fun stuff, the numbers. Okay. So I'm super excited because a lot of estheticians that I currently coach and that I work with and go through my courses, they struggle a lot with how to price themselves. Because a lot of times we just typically will look like, okay, this esthetician's doing this and this esthetician's doing this, so I'll do somewhere in the middle. Or they'll do something like, I'm a brand new esthetician. I've barely been an esthetician, so I should price myself really low so that everybody comes in. And that can be super overwhelming because then you realize you're not going to make anything. And so I was solo for a while. And when I first became solo, I did something very similar. And I was like, why can't I not even pay my rent? Like, what's going on? And I was seeing a lot of clients and they were paying full price. But then I ended up I got a few degrees and a lot of trainings. And I realized that your girl was just not doing great. And then I was super underpricing myself. So we're going to actually break down those numbers of what that looks like. It's not super fun time to honestly kind of do it. But once you understand what your numbers look like, the game will change for you because then you can plan out how much you want to make. You can plan out how many people you need to see, and you can do all that stuff. So basically, we're going to go over your base cost per service. And that just basically means literally how much it costs to have that particular service. So go all the way down to your overhead, your rent and stuff like that, what it costs to actually perform their service. I don't know if you guys have ever I don't know if you were in school, but they always, whenever I was in school, they're like, you can't use this much product. You're going to realize you can't use all this product. And I didn't really understand it until I had to buy so much product. And I was just like, I'm wasting so much money. So you want to make sure you understand the base cost per service. So you're good to go. And then we're going to talk how to add a profit margin, meaning how we're really going to pay ourselves and make more money. We're also going to talk about how to choose that profit margin because typically it's just by a percentage, but we're going to kind of go over where you can choose that percentage. And then also the goal-based profit planning. We're literally going to go over if you want to make $100,000 in a year in your pocket, we're going to talk about what that looks like, how to actually plan that. And then we're also going to calculate a break-even analysis. That is basically what you need to make or how many services you need to provide in a month so that you can know exactly what you have to make to break even. That is the number that you're going to pay your rent. You're going to pay all the things you need to pay. That is what a break-even analysis is. Okay. So Maria, can you go to the next page? All right. So let's talk about how to calculate your base cost per service. Basically, in a nutshell, how this works is that you are going to be focusing on what you're actually using in your service, okay? So your product cost. And before you start this, actually, it talks about per service, but if you're like, no idea, start with the service that people book the most, that you actually enjoy to do, okay? Book the service or go over the service that you like, right? So for instance, my service that I booked the most was a 60-minute signature facial. So I knew how much that cost. So it's easier for you to kind of break that down. So you're going to figure out how much your product cost is for that service. Now, how you do that with supplies when it comes down to like your actual products is you can, if you're brand new, you can kind of calculate it a little bit easier because of the fact that you can literally go through like, okay, I ordered this month, and then I've performed this many services, and then I had to order the product again. You can kind of divide that and break that down. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. Essentially what you do is imagine you have like your cleanser, right? And you use that cleanser for every single service. And you had to order it 1 month later and you perform 30 services. You can calculate the cost of that cleanser divided by 30, and that's how much it is per service. Okay. It's not super fun, but it's a super awesome way to kind of break it down. Then you can kind of figure out just like estimates. Typically, if you're brand new, you're using more product than you are if you're a little more seasoned, just because that's just how it works. But go through all that. Same thing with like your gloves. When was the last time you ordered your gloves? If you have disposables, stuff like that, and just kind of make it like an easy understanding of what it looks like. So we're going to assume it's $6 total for this, okay? Typically what I've seen is it really, depending on the service, it typically, if you're just doing like a basic kind of facial, you're looking at like between like $3 and like $7 is what typically I see people having. And then we're going to move into your labor costs. So this is really, you decide like what you want to like pay yourself per hour. And for this, now we're going to go over how to actually figure out what you want to pay yourself. But so this is just going to be an estimate. You're like, you know what? I want to make $40 an hour. Okay. That's where you're going to put in that. And then your next one's going to be your overhead. Now, this one's always a fun one because if you don't know what your overhead costs are going to look like,
Sorry,
what's happening?
someone's in the waiting room. Okay, hold on.
So this one's fun because if you don't know what your overhead costs are going to like actually look like, because typically a lot of people don't realize that they're spending $1 bazillion every single month, you're going to want to go through your bank. So like your bank account, assuming you have a separate bank account for your business versus your personal, you want to go through and see everything you've spent in the last, I would say like 3-ish months, and then divide that by 3 to kind of get your average. Okay. Kind of figure out what that average looks like. And then that's where you can figure out what your overhead costs are. So like an example of that would be you have your $1,000 a month of overhead, which typically that's very low, but you have your overhead and you say you do 100 services. Okay. Then your overhead per service would be $10, meaning that like every service you perform is paying for a little bit of that overhead service. Okay. So it looks, if you guys can see, it looks like this on the bottom here, which actually you can't even see my mouse, can you? It says product $6, labor $40, overhead $10, meaning that your base cost per service is $56. So meaning that if you charged just $56 for that service, you would have that bare minimum of that. Okay. Before I move on to that, does anybody have any questions about that? Just really quickly. I know that was kind of a lot. Anybody? Unmute yourself or anything like that. No? Okay. I'm going to move on. Maria, can you go to the next page?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about how to calculate your base. I hope it's still the same thing. Basically, I talked about this. If you don't know your overhead, go through your expenses for the last 3 months and then average it, then divide it by the number of services you perform. So we just talked about that. All right, Maria, can you go to the next one? All right, so let's talk about your profit margin. Now, profit margin, if you're unfamiliar with it, can be a little confusing because your business, you have to remember, you created a business to make money. You did not create a business to do charity, okay? We want to eventually give to charity. Yes, we want to do that, right? That's what we do at Proverbs 31 Women. We are giving to charity, but we have to make that profit first. So we're here, we're called to build, we're called to grow. We want to make sure that we are doing that, okay? So there's really a few ways that you can choose your profit margin. Now, at first, there's really a few ways to decide what your profit's going to be. Now, the first one is choosing a profit margin. So typically your standard in a profit margin is 20 to 50%, meaning that for every service you perform, you are receiving 20 to 50% of that service. So say your service is not in real numbers, but it's easy math for your girl, okay? So like, well, here's the examples on there, but imagine there's like your service is $100, your profit margin is 50%. You'd be making $50 of that, okay? So, but that's obviously not usually real life yet, okay? But you can see in the example here that you choose your margin, 20 to 50% is usually, and we'll go over like kind of like what the numbers are typically with that when it comes to like how much you're making per how much your profit margin should be. So the formula for this of kind of figuring that out is the price, and then your product, the price of your service would equal the product plus labor plus overhead, which is what we just did. That's your base price, times 1 plus whatever your profit margin is. So this would mean that every time you pay yourself, you're automatically transferring the profit margin to yourself. So just like in this example, in 2 weeks, you made $2,000. That means you transfer 50% equaling $1,000. Now that's just an easy number to think of, but that is essentially in a nutshell how that works. So you have to decide like, what do you want your profit margin to be? And there are a lot of different ways to choose a profit margin in the sense of what does your experience look like? Like, are you performing, like giving the most amazing experience? Like people are walking in and this is like overwhelmingly insane. Are you, doing all the extra touches? Are you giving massages while their masks are sitting? Are you doing a long consultation? Are you offering skincare help? Are you giving results? Is your location like top notch? That's part of your profit. Every single little thing that you do that's like extra past just the basic service is what a profit margin would be. So you just want to make sure that when you're thinking about a profit, it's still not just a guess. It's 100% about like the things that you offer throughout the whole service. So even like imagine you walk into a service, right? Imagine like your experience when you walk into receive a treatment or something like that, and it smells delicious. You're presented with a glass of tea or a cup of tea, and the whole service you're in what are those things called? Oh my gosh, the like the bed warmers, the table warmers, right? And you're like a little burrito. Your people are going to pay extra for that. Okay, they want those touches, they want that love. So just remember, whatever like experience you provide, that can be counted into what your profit should be. All right, so walk through. The biggest thing I always tell my students is to walk through, what does your experience look like from the very beginning to the second you're found. The experience starts. So think about like when they found you on Instagram, what is your experience like? Are you prompt with your talking to them, right? When they're communicating with you? Is your booking system beautiful? Is like an easy to use? Is finding you easy? Are you very like communicating with them all the time? That's all part of the experience. Okay. All right. And then can we go to the next page? Okay, so how to choose a profit margin. So on the next slide in a second, we're going to go over that. There's like a little graph thing you'll see. But basically, in a nutshell, if your base cost per facial is $50 and you charge $70, your profit would be $20, right? Does everybody understand that? So that is really what it is. So when you say choose a profit or choose a margin, we're also talking about past paying yourself as well. So think about like your life. Okay. Yes, we pay ourselves, but like think about profit. Like, what do you want to perform? Like, what do you want an equipment upgrade? Like, are you somebody who wants one of those treatment tables that like move on its own? You don't have to like unscrew the little thingies, Are you somebody who like wants a bougie chair? Or are you somebody who wants to move location so you have more space? Like all of that stuff goes into it. And a lot of people think of like profit of like upgrading or having rest days or whatever. It can legitimately just be a few percent of that profit margin percent you choose. So say 50% is the profit margin you choose. We could say 4% of that goes towards your savings, goes towards your education, stuff like that. I hope that makes sense. So basically you're taking a part of that profit margin that you've chosen and you're putting it towards something, towards what is your, like I was talking about your exit strategy. Do you want to stay in the treatment room forever? Do you want to sell eventually? Do you want to hire more people? Like, what does that look like? A percentage of that profit margin goes towards that. Okay. And Maria, can we? Thank you. Okay. So this little guy here is going to kind of help you understand, because a lot of the times, and if you guys haven't, I would recommend just taking a picture of this, because it can be really easy for us to be like, I want to pay myself 50%. Okay. But sometimes we have to start like a little bit lower, fully dependent on the offers that you provide. Okay. So say your main service is like an underarm wax, right? Unless you're charging a very high amount for your underarm waxing, you probably should start like a little bit lower. So like on the lower ticket side of things. And it's really based completely around your situation. Now, this is not set in stone, but this kind of gives you like a good idea of where to play. Something you can also do when it comes to choosing a profit margin is you can always, especially if you have debt, if you haven't been putting money away for your taxes, if you just like need to kind of figure your life out, maybe you're trying to reduce your overhead. What you can do is I would recommend starting at a lower profit margin, figuring all that stuff out, what it looks like, and then every quarter moving the percent up just a little bit. Just a little bit. That way you're able to see like maybe your overhead is so high and you don't even realize it's so high because of the fact that you are paying for all these subscriptions and you have no idea. Or you have to do so many different, you're paying for so many different things, or you're overpaying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you didn't even know you were paying for a $50 subscription forever, right? So every single quarter, I'd recommend moving the percentage up, even just 1% until you get to that happy place. Okay. Don't start like wild craziness. Start a little bit lower, especially if you have no idea, and then slowly move yourself up. Okay. Let me see. And then at the bottom, if you want to grow, reinvest, or take time off, aim for at least 30 to 40%. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to be honest. When I first started my business, your girl went all in and I was in so much debt and I didn't even know what to do. And so if you ever heard of Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, this will help you a lot as well, breaking kind of these numbers down too, and also helping you get out of debt or any issues that you may have.
That's actually something I want to do in the new year.
Profit First?
Yeah, as a group. It's
so good. Like, so it absolutely transformed my business, completely changed everything for me. I was actually able to like pay myself after that. Okay, I would love to know. Okay. Now I'll answer, is it Jasmine, I think? I will answer your question, that question at the very end, okay? And we'll talk about that. But all right, so let's move on to goal-based profit planning. All right, so this is probably one of my more, I personally enjoy this way of doing things if you're not in debt, right? If you don't already have like a lot of things going on, you understand your financial stuff. This is what, and you're like kind of settled as a soul, like you know what's going on in your business, you know what's happening in your life. Or if you're brand new and you have nothing happening in your life yet, and you're trying to kind of figure out what you want to do, this is going to help break down what those numbers looks like. Okay, so this is basically a way to reverse engineer your paycheck. And I chose kind of a smaller number of $60,000 per year because I thought it'd be probably easier to understand. Because you just have to make sure you understand like what it looks like, because in reality, everything is in business, everything. It's not magical, it's mathematical. If you're able to break down eventually like what your average client like is worth, quote unquote, these things become a whole lot easier. Okay. So let's break that down. So say you want to make $60,000 in a year. You're going to divide that by 12, which would be 12 months. That means that's $5,000 in a month. Okay. And then you break that down by week, divided by 4. That's $1,250 a week. divide that by hourly. So say you're saying 20 clients in a week, depending how that looks. You know, if you're like, you know what, instead of 20 clients, you're like, I work 20 hours. Whatever that looks like as far as clients, if I'm seeing one client that's there for 2 hours, I'm seeing a client that's there for 35 minutes, like whatever, you're gonna divide that by your hours or by clients, okay? And so that would mean that your hour, if you divide it by 20, is worth $62.50. So essentially, you'd be adding that to your base cost. So if you guys remember that at the very beginning, we add it into your base cost, and then that would be kind of how you are able to price your service based on that number. And this is really cool because you can really figure out how many clients you need to hit a particular number. So meaning like the number I shared right here, that would be $5,000 a month if you had no overhead, you had nothing like that. But if you're like, I need to bring home $5,000, then you probably realize that, and you know what we'll go over the break even analysis in a second, and you know what your break even is. Then at that point, you're able to realize like, okay, I actually need to be working like 30 hours a week so I can break even, and then your girl could bring home some money. Okay. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we're like, where did all my money go? Why didn't I make enough money? It's probably because you're not seeing enough clients or your pricing is kind of whack. So you have to figure out what that looks like. All right, so let's go to the next page, please. All right, let's talk about a break-even analysis. Now, a break-even analysis, kind of what I talked about before, was really all about knowing what your numbers look like to literally break even. Meaning if you made no other money, you could pay your bills, you could keep your lights on, like that's it, okay? So let's talk about like your fixed monthly costs. So your fixed monthly costs are essentially those numbers that don't really change, okay? So those are the costs that like are the same every single month. So say your rent is $300 a week, whatever. That would be a fixed monthly cost. That is that thing that never changes or rarely fluctuates. If you have like Canva Pro, you got, what's it, $12.95. That's a fixed cost, okay? Your cell phone bill, usually a fixed cost, stuff like that. Then we're gonna go over your profit per service, which we've kind of already created. And then, let me see, example, let me see, if your fixed cost, $2,000 a month, your profit per service, your profit per facial or per service would be $25, which we figured that out earlier, what your profit is. So that means you'd have to to kind of break even, you would need to be doing 80 services a month, which obviously that's a little bit harder to understand. Like you wouldn't be in typical situation, you probably wouldn't be doing 80, but you guys understand as far as the gist of the math there. I hope that makes sense to everybody when it comes to the break-even analysis, because it's fairly easy once you kind of understand your numbers. So if you take the numbers that we've just talked about before and you walk yourself kind of through that, you need to know how many services you need to be able to break even. So if your fixed cost, all your costs that you have, $2,000 a month, just to break even, you have to do at least 80 services. If your profit per facial is $25. Does that make sense? Hopefully. All right, can we go to the next page? Do you want me to continue with this, or Maria, do you want to take back?
I could jump in. Okay. So thank you so much for all that information. Does everybody feel like they got it? If they need any further assistance, Allison was kind enough to offer her services. Allison, did you want to put your link or your Instagram at the bottom?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put my Instagram in there. And you guys could totally feel free. Like I'm really good at messaging back. So totally feel free to DM me or anything like that. I will walk you through all the things on really anything. But if you have questions, marketing, stuff like that too.
We do have 2 chats going on, one on Instagram and one on Facebook, because we have homework. I love homework. So after all these teachings, I would like you guys to ask yourself, what no longer aligns with the woman I'm becoming? So when I say that, I want you guys to all take a minute and really visualize yourself on where you want to be this time next year. How much do you want to be making? Did she get the 4th of July weekend off? What is no longer aligning? When you look back at the last 6 months, where were you like, dang, I want to change that, or I wish this was a little bit different? Or maybe you're exactly where you want to be. Maybe you're happy and you're like, I'm doing a great job. So take this as your sign that you're doing a great job. I want you to think, what services drain you? I'm like, this doesn't make sense. For me, I was terrible at lashing and I didn't like it. I wasn't good at it. And where I wanted to be was facials, corrective skincare. What are you holding on to out of fear or guilt? If you're like, I feel so guilty raising my prices, or I'm scared, what if I don't have any more clients? We're not going to move in fear, we're moving in faith. So let this be the day you edit boldly. Because when you clean up your menu, you're not just rebranding your business, you're rewriting the narrative. So on this day, you're going to honor your calling, you're going to value your time and your gift, and you're going to build from a place of peace, not pressure. And today's takeaway, you deserve to be well paid for your skill, your wisdom, and your energy. The Proverbs 31 woman was not passive. She had profit. You're going to clean up your menu with self-respect and smart business. So we're going to know our numbers. At the very least, if you're like, I'm not ready to raise my prices, I still want you to work on your numbers, because at the very least, you should know that you're not making profit. Profit gives you space to grow, invest, and plan boldly. When God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, these are gifts from God. I want you guys to know there's no shame in profit. Profit is provision. Profit funds peace, family, rest, and legacy. So let today be the shift towards more clarity, more intention, and more overflow. Are you guys ready to change your menus? And homework. Okay, so we have 2 chats going on. It will get sent out via newsletter. We have one on Instagram and one on Facebook. And I basically did this because I really believe that when we're all moving together, it's going to spark new ideas. So your audit is you're going to audit your menu. Eliminate anything that's not booking, not profitable, or not aligned. I want you to recalculate your pricing. So in those chats, I believe Allison's are in there, so you guys can tag her and start really making a conversation. And then share one takeaway, question, or price breakthrough in the group chat. So and the reason why I say this is because maybe some of us are feeling stuck or aren't ready to move boldly, but if we all move together, we're going to empower each other. So maybe you can, while you're going through your menu, you go into the chat and be like, I actually found out that I'm negative. There was a post that I just approved, and when she did her audit, she said, I'm only making $18 per lash lift. She's like, that's not how much I want to be making. But how brave and how bold of her, because sitting down and doing the numbers is scary. But she sat down, now she's going to make the pivot to actually be able to make more. So we want you to use the group chat. I want you to ask questions, share screenshots, give feedback. I want us to be able to support and move together so that by Friday, and when we come back together next Monday, we have things to share. Does that sound good?
Hey, Maria, before we hop off, am I able to answer some of the questions?
Absolutely. We have all the time we need.
Okay, perfect. It looks like you guys, if you want to put questions in chat, I will answer them as I see them, but I was told somebody I was going to answer and I totally forgot to answer a question at the end. But okay, so when it comes to, somebody asked, I would love to know how to handle price raising. I need to do it, but not sure how to approach it with clients, as they're always asking for discounts. So let's talk about the discounts first. I have found that my students that do a lot of discounts, their clients tend to expect it. So it's almost like you have to go through this like hard transition of like, I'm not offering discounts. Like I'm just not doing it. And sadly, when you're going through that, you're going to lose clients, but you're making space for clients that are going to pay full price. Okay. I literally always say this. I would rather serve one client that's going to pay me $200 than serve 2 clients that are going to pay me $100 each. Okay. It just makes more sense for your time. You're able to do more. You're able to serve more when people are paying your full price, and you're not going to burn out or lose your mind because, oh my gosh, but you have to stop offering those discounts. And if you are going to offer discounts, make sure you're doing like a promotion that has a time limit. It's an urgency thing, or it's sold out thing. It's not a thing that is like you're doing all the time. And it sucks for a second because you're like, no one's coming in. You just have to go through the process. Maybe your follow-up game needs to be better. Maybe you need to be communicating better. Maybe you need to make sure you're pre-booking. Please pre-book, everybody. You need to be pre-booking. But when it comes to handling like price raises, there's kind of a few things you can do. One, I wouldn't over-explain it. Don't apologize for doing it. But you can always just tell your clients, like, if you want to, you could tell them like, hey, there is a slight price increase. And if they ask why, or you can even say, due to different, supply changes, I realized I was undercharging for a long time. And for me to stay open, I have to, just be honest. But this is something that I would explain one time and then I would move forward. If you lose clients, just remember, if you lose clients because you raise your prices, that's okay. It is making space for the people that are supposed to be there, that are going to respect your time. I literally talk about this all the time. If you ever listen to my podcast, I trained a massage therapist a few years ago, and she was like, people only book when I do discounts. I'm like, wouldn't you? I literally love a discount. If I know someone's going to come back with a discount, I'm going to wait. I want that discount. And I'm in the service industry. So like understand that people are going to do that. And eventually she stopped doing discounts, and now she's making like 10,000 plus a month, literally not offering a single discount. She hasn't offered discounts in years. Okay. So just trust the process. And honestly, you have to have the confidence in your price change for people to respect it too. Okay. You have to have full confidence. And then did anybody else have any other questions? I thought I saw another one. Maria Allison, are you available for one-on-one audits? Yeah, Sabrina, if you want to message me on Instagram, that's going to be the best way. And then you guys will be receiving an email from me probably next day or two, if not later today, tomorrow. So you guys will be able to communicate with me that way. I'm pretty
Are you guys
easy to
already
talk to.
subscribed to the newsletter?
Like me?
Oh, everybody. I put the link.
So
I want to hear, if you guys are welcome to turn on your mics, what is one thing you're taking off your menu? Dun, dun, dun.
Eyebrow waxing. I hate waxing eyebrows.
You're like, I don't want to
It
do
makes
this
me so
anymore.
nervous. I have like my anxiety goes to the roof. So I would say eyebrow waxing. I'm okay with everything else, but eyebrows, I'm taking it off.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
for
like
it.
doing it.
I have to run the margins first before I can answer you, Maria.
I love that though. I love that you're like, let me figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, but that is, did you guys find it like helpful? Are you like, dang, man, she's talking to me?
I'm sorry. I was gonna chime in. You guys can't see me. I'm sorry. Let me turn my video on. But anyways, I was gonna say, so I have a service where two can get facials together in the same treatment room, because my treatment room is like big for no reason.
Have you thought about adding an extra bed and maybe either subleasing? That's what I do. I sublease it.
where'd you go? Are you there?
Ebony?
Hello. I do love that idea of subleasing. I've had a student who did that, where she only worked like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the other days she was a massage therapist. She would lease the other days to somebody.
Which is perfect for your overhead. And it's perfect because
Yeah.
she does, like, I do facials and she just does eyebrows and microblading.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, I mean, talk about, this was me years ago. Y'all, I used to have waxing on my I was by far, and still by far, the worst waxer. But it was such, like, literally, like, I did a Brazilian, And it took forever. I was like, you're suffering, I'm suffering, we're all suffering here. Okay, this was a terrible idea. So if you're just like genuinely do not enjoy something, like it's not worth your soul. And I also have to add, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to figure out what you like and don't like.
It does.
Like as a brand new solo, I was like, I'm doing it all. I'm doing it all. And then I realized I actually I legitimately dislike doing waxing. And I mean, lashes. I mean, I tried lashes in school and it was so bad, but I was really good at facial. So like do the things that you love.
They said the jelly mask. Some of my facials already factor the mask into the price, but no one adds on the jelly masks anymore.
Well, tell me, are you talking about them? Because like if the jelly mask's already in the service, I mean, I wouldn't ask about it if they're expecting it.
I want to be good at jelly masks, but you guys, I am so bad at jelly masks. Here's a horror story. I had this huge influencer. Her name was Chanel. You know who she is, Deshanti. She's Chanel. She's this fitness girl. She has her husband is named Duke. They are both in my treatment room. They're paying me full price money. I do the jelly mask. I know I shouldn't have done it. Everything in my gut told me, don't do the jelly mask. But I want to impress her, and I'm like, I'm going to do the jelly mask. And then my intuition said, don't do it, Maria. And I said, but I'm already mixing it. And so I'm mixing it. I put it on her. She has these huge lashes. The jelly mask gets stuck in her lashes. How about I cleared Duke's entire hyperpigmentation, and he never posted once about me because of that jelly mask incident. Oh my God. If you look at his befores, look at his afters. His skin is, he was so mad at me, he never came back. So that's my jelly mask.
Oh man. Listen, jelly mask, when I first started doing jelly mask, I did I called it my practice. I never told my clients, but I called it my practice. And I'd be like, I'm offering this jelly mask at this rate for only the next week. And then I just practiced. And I would tell them, and I literally, if I'd had my friends come in and be like, yo, I'm really bad at this, but lay here. Lay here.
Jacqueline asked, where would you guys suggest posting subleasing or rentals? Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook groups. You can.
I would say your personal page, because probably a lot of estheticians follow you. It took me a minute to find the perfect person, but you could do it. Local Facebook groups are really important. Your own personal page, let people know that you're subleasing. And then the right person will find you. You also want to make sure that it's the right person.
And I definitely show up a lot doing it.
Ebony's back on. Ebony, would you like to hop back on?
Yes. Can you guys hear me now?
Perfectly.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to say forget it with the camera because my storage is full and my phone is just giving me issues. But anyways, I was going to comment and say, so I have a service where it's called come away with me. And basically the service is you can invite a loved one and you two can get facial services together. Because my treatment room is so big, I have this floor to ceiling curtains that kind of make the room smaller, but behind the curtain, which is really nice and beautiful, is another treatment table where I can do another esthetician can come in and do a service, but nobody really books it. And I'm like, maybe I can utilize the space for something else, for extra storage or something like that. But it's just kind of one of those things that I've been thinking about, maybe taking off the menu or maybe just leaving there. And if someone wants to book it, we can maybe just set up the portable table. I don't know. So it's we go through these, back and forths in our minds as estheticians sometimes, what should I do? What shouldn't I do? But it's kind of one of those things where I could make some money, but it's am I making money? And then the other thing becomes, am I promoting it well too? So just all of those motions.
So this is a question. Do you want to offer that service? Because when I think about me personally, when I think about doing two services at the same time, I get a little overwhelmed, but that's me. Well, have you thought about subleasing the other space? And I had to give the reference. So I have two big spaces and I could literally fit 2 beds in that room. One side, I sublease it. She pays me $95 a day. And then I have my side. So she subleases it for 2 days. and then I'm not here those 2 days because I'm not here anyways.
So the way that my treatment room is set up is that it's only one way to get into the room. So it's just one big room, literally.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so and then so I actually have like a team of people as well. So the thing about it is that if we do that service, that means that another esthetician is coming in. I'm not doing 2 services at once. It's all 4 of us in the room together, if that makes sense.
Sabrina asked a great question. She said, how are you promoting it? Could you relaunch? Maybe do social posts, print, event, focus on that?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? It's like these are the questions that I ask myself. No, I'm terrible. I'm the worst at promoting myself, the absolute worst. I have 2 youngins that are helping me with some content creation right now because they're like really eager and they really believe in what I'm doing and they're super like passionate about what they're doing. So I have to get into more of promoting all of these things. And we're just like at the very beginning stages of promoting my business. So I will say I'm terrible at that. I'm getting better and getting more comfortable with kind of putting myself out there. So that's the other thing too. It's like, do I really want to get rid of something that I haven't really fully given the chance and to promote it and things of that nature?
Can I ask, are you making profit on that?
Right now, no, because it does. I mean, I make profit. Well, you know what? Oh my God, Raven. Sorry, my daughter just dropped her plate. Sorry.
Well, when I profit, it's like, because you're offering the 2 services. When you do both of the numbers, because are you bringing in an employee for that?
Yes. So I will bring in another team member to assist. So I will be completely honest with you. When you ladies were talking about, you know, profit margin and doing your numbers and all of that jazz, I actually have a spreadsheet that I utilize to help me kind of come up with these numbers. I will say, or I will admit that I have not done that, ran the numbers for that specific service. So I couldn't tell you if I am making a profit on it or not.
That actually
Now,
makes me so happy. Sorry, really quick, because that's exactly what this entire teaching is all about, right? So we're all in the same boat with you. Maybe not all of us, but most of us, I'll say 50-50, are in that boat of figuring out what the profit margin is. So if that is so I believe week 2, so next week we're going to go over policies and procedures. So like what kind of policies are we going to have? Week 3, we're talking about marketing. So
Okay.
why that makes me excited is this really gives you the time to carve out the numbers and then maybe do a relaunch.
Okay.
When you're actually, so maybe like this week is cleaning up your menu and making this one of your primary focuses to do a relaunch. But when you relaunch it, you're launching it with a good profit.
Okay.
Go ahead, Allison. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. So the other thing I also want you to think about is when it comes down to choosing what services you have in your treatment room and services you don't have in the treatment room, is I want you to understand, like, what is your intention over the course of the next year, 3 years? Like, in 3, is this just something you're like, oh, well, this could potentially make me money, but in a year, I don't want to be doing this? Like, do you want to be known as the person who does these services? And if you are, like, that's something that you could really focus on. Yes, we need all the profit and all the things with it, but you also need to look at, like, do you have some type of like business plan? Does this fit into your values? Does this fit into your goals? It sounds beautiful, but does it fit into the things that you actually want to continue with? Somebody also said, which I thought was a great idea. I can't find it out. They're like, oh, can you advertise it more seasonally? So say it's not something you really offer like during the year, because maybe it just doesn't light a fire under your booty, but you know that it's going to sell. Like, you know, you could sell it and promote it around like Valentine's Day, maybe Mother's Day. Maybe you could do like a mommy and like me treatment kind of thing, you know, something where it's like just seasonally. So you're not like, because I don't know how your system works, but I feel like it would stress me out if someone booked it and then I have to get like an employee or whatever to do it. And then like,
yeah, the good news about it is that we are present. We are there. Everyone is there.
Okay,
Everyone
cool.
has their days. So that's not really the issue. It just more so becomes, you know, should I take it off the menu or not? But I think the real question becomes, is it profitable? Am I priced properly? And then just centering some sort of promotion, strategic promotions around it. Because the thing about my business is that I also too while I love giving like that luxury facial treatment, I also like to hold space for like spa parties. So I have two different versions of that. And so I want to create and cultivate a space in that sense. Mostly it's one-on-one, but also I want people to know that this is a place to go if you want to have like a fun girlfriend experience or like a fun kind of different networking experience as well. So that's kind of like another little leg of my business.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, no, I love that. And you also have to remember too, when you're pricing something like this, there is a huge bonus, a huge profit margin part of this that you can add because someone's doing it together. Like I can tell you, I will pay significantly more to have a massage with my husband in the room than to have separate, as long as he's not like gonna sleep or snore or something.
Right.
But like then I will pay more for him to be in another room. But but in reality, like how cool, like I think about it, I would love to go get a facial and like my mom be there too. You know, like
Yeah.
I would pay so much more for that
For that
experience.
experience. Okay.
So just remember that when you are pricing it, don't just double like a facial and then you times two it. Like there is a profit side of this when it comes to that, because how cool that like if my best friend was here and we could go get services, like how much fun would that be?
Yes.
You know?
And they have a ball when they come too.
Yeah, and people will pay for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. That was a little bit of encouragement. I just need to kind of rework or kind of relook at that service.
I think
Yeah, honestly, I want to do it. I want to go.
I think that starting with the numbers, because we want to
Okay.
if you're promoting it, you're making a profit.
Yep. Perfect. And I will tell you, that is a shorter service. It's a 60-minute versus the 75-minute that I normally do. And so I priced it a little bit lower, but I need to rework it. I need to reevaluate it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck. I would definitely want to hear how it goes.
Sure thing.
And we also have the group chat. So we have two group chats, and I did this intentionally. We have one inside of the Facebook group, and then we did one on Instagram. That way we kind of keep the conversation going. For these kind of questions, I understand that we're going to be like, dang, what do you think about this idea? That is what the group chat is for.
Perfect. And then somebody asked if the formula is going to be in the newsletter. So I'm going to email you guys probably in the next day or two, and I can put that in the email, like kind of the formulas we talked about and a little bit of a breakdown. So you guys have that on hand.
Also, the entire slideshow that we went over is getting sent out via newsletter.
There's that. The formulas will be in there.
So, Deshanti, do you mind closing us off in prayer?
Absolutely. This was beautiful. Thank you, ladies. This was awesome. I can apply this to life, I feel like. I really just want to encourage everyone too, as we are pursuing to be Proverbs 31 women, that we partner with the Lord. Ask him some of these questions, like pray about what it is that your desires are, because he's a father that wants to answer you and give you the desires and partner with you to help build your business. And so thank you, Lord. Father God, we just come before you, just thanking you, God. Thank you for this wealth of information. Thank you for the wisdom, oh God, that we can take back and apply to our businesses, apply to our lives, oh Father God. We thank you, oh God, that it would be planted in us, God, that it would be rooted in us, God, that it would be like a seed that has been planted, God, and producing fruit in our businesses, oh God. We thank you for the fruit that will produce, God, from this first week, oh Lord. I thank you, God, for each and every woman that came on. I thank you for those that will watch the replay, oh God. I thank you for those that just have questions, God. I pray, God, that you would answer their questions, oh Lord. I thank you, God, for Allison and Maria, oh Father God. I pray, God, that you would continue to bless them, oh God, and that they would, the work of their hands and the endeavors that they are going into, God, that you would continue to give them witty ideas and suggestions on what to do and how to manage the groups that they're in, oh Father God, and the help that they are offering, oh Lord. And we just give you all the honor and praise and glory, God, for even allowing us to have these businesses and to grow with you as women and to partner with us, oh Lord. And we thank you for this day in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. So if you already registered for this, I'm just going to put you registered for the next week. I encourage you, I'm going to put it one more time. Well, you guys are already registered, and we'll see you next week. Next week, we're going to go over policies, procedures, and how to honor them like a Proverbs 31 woman.
I'm sorry. Before we head out, I do have one more question.
Of course.
I believed I had registered already. Are we using that registration link to get back on the call next week, or was something already or new link sent out?
It's gonna be the same link. Give me 1 second. I'll do it now while everybody's on here. We want to edit. I can't do it when we're on here. Edit. Well, we're on here, but the same link will be out, and then also it's gonna get sent out via newsletter. So is everybody subscribed to the newsletter? Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. Let me know in the chat, please. I'm gonna not sure. I'm putting the link there. If you're not sure, I'm giving you the link. Boom, boom, boom. But so what I was gonna do is this registration link, I was gonna put it every Monday. And my virtual assistant got evacuated, but for next week, she's fine now, she's back, but she got evacuated for the floods. But what I'm trying to do is already have a downloadable link for you guys so that you guys can just follow along and take notes. Alrighty, so everybody, I want to make sure before we log off, everybody is in the chat for the Proverbs 31 either on Instagram. It's also inside of the group on the side where you see the chat. I want to make sure I'm here. This was great. Okay, and then you guys are logged on to the newsletter. Does anybody need my help? And then remember to share one thing in the chat, please. Not popping up on Insta. So if you go to my Insta, it's in the chat. It's on the side in my channel. Everybody good? Alrighty, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.